I'm sharing 12 seeds that you can sow right now in April week 3 to get the most out of your garden this season. Now at the beginning of this video you saw a beautiful calendula flower that was out. So the first thing that I need to let you know is that Mrs. W sowed our calendula flowers for this year a couple of weeks ago. So they can be sown now, it's absolutely fine. Calendula are wonderful flowers that attract beneficial pollinators. The next thing I just want to say before we get on is that I've had one or two people ask me, Vanessa being one of them, it's always lovely to hear from you, Vanessa, where do we keep our seedlings? Our seedlings have been up here in the polytunnel probably for the last couple of months or so. When it comes to brassicas, they can be up here no matter what the temperature is, unless you're living in a place where it's going to get to about -10 or 12, 2 or 3 degrees overnight is not going to hurt any brassicas. Of course, it goes without saying, you really don't want to be putting your peppers, chili peppers, tomatoes up here. And just to show you why you don't want to be doing that, we purposely left these 2 plants here in our unheated polytunnel. They were sown at exactly the same time as all of our other tomatoes. But when you see these, and then you compare them to what you can see now, they've been down in our house overnight where the ambient temperature does stay warm, and they come out every day into, well, our new structure we have down by the house, that little Viva mini greenhouse. It's worked amazingly for us, it really has. It's in the ideal position where it doesn't get whipped up by the wind, and it just offers us shelter for our plants, probably warmer than being up here. Although this polytunnel and our greenhouse does get the sun, gets lots of sun down there on our patio, which warms the whole thing up. It saves you having to have grow lights because, from sort of February onwards, late February onwards, you can bring your plants out every day and they'll take all the advantage of the natural daylight that is available. But they are protected from any winds and any cold days that are there. What I wouldn't do is buy one to put right in the middle of our garden where it is exposed to any high winds that go across our garden. That wouldn't be the right place for it. Down in a secluded space like we have it on our patio, absolutely amazing. The best thing is, Mrs. W is not growing any shorter because she's not wearing her legs out walking up and down our garden to this polytunnel. She only has to nip out the French doors and onto the patio. The first thing we're going to start off with are our sweet corn. And it's a variety called Early Bird. Now, sweet corn really doesn't want to go out into your plots until all danger of frost has passed. It will kill sweet corn immediately. So there's no hurry to sow this, but April, week 3, is a good time, especially for us in our Zone 9A garden. This weekend represents our last average frost date. And just to hedge my bets, I'm going to sow 2 seeds per cell. Hopefully 1 from each cell does germinate. But if 2 do, then we shall just thin to the strongest seedling. And then as usual we shall cover everything with some vermiculite. We'll stick the label in there, and that's really important on this occasion because there are 2 different seeds going into this module tray. And that's going to be a dwarf bean called Ferrari. Now we have grown it before. It actually produces really lovely beans. I'm going to sow these and then plant them into this polytunnel in between the tomatoes. I don't need many of them, but they will give us some really lovely fine beans to eat over the summer months. I'll also be growing some climbing French beans. They will go outside. They get much thicker, like the thickness of my little finger, pencil thickness. And they're really great for freezing so that we can continue to enjoy the taste and freshness of that vegetable all the way through the year. They're labelled up so we know what they are, and they can go into the water bath where they'll suck that water up. Next, I want to sow some more beans, and the first one is going to be the borlotti bean. Now, we've really missed this, haven't we, Mrs. W?
I know. I don't know why we haven't grown them for the last couple of years, but we just haven't for some reason, bizarre reason.
I do, because you keep making me wait a long time for those peas to become ready.
Oh, okay.
But I've solved that this year.
It had to be my fault.
Harmony once again reigns in the garden. Mrs. W has her own pea arch.
Thank you.
But yeah, we really have missed these borlotti beans, and they're really great because in the winter months it really helps to bulk out casseroles and stews and give you lots of great food. They can be dried, and then you just need to soak them overnight really before you use them. So this is not going to be a bean that we're going to pick to eat fresh here and now, although you could do if you really wanted to. We've got the French and runner beans for that. These are going to be for us to dry. And they're a lovely shaped bean, as you can see. All those lovely speckles. So I am really glad to once again have these back on the menu. When it comes to the beans, you may have realised that I didn't include them on the what to sow for the month of April. There's good reason for that, because I didn't know whether we would be able to sow them this month. Thankfully, the spring has been lovely. We could do a little bit more rain, I grant you, but it's been absolutely lovely this spring. The worst thing you can do is to sow these too early, and you're going to put them outdoors and it's just miserable, because these plants will not like it. They do like warmth. So I think that we can actually sow these now, with this being the last weekend of our average frost date. They won't go out for another 4 weeks, which will be mid-May, which will be absolutely ideal. But had the weather been awful like it was last year, really miserable, really cold, and for those of you that were with us last year, I'm sure you can remember sending me your comments saying, this is the 3rd time I've sown my beans. That's the reason why. They really don't like the cold. It's not just the frost. I mean, if you get a frost, that's it. They're going to be gone. But even with very cold, windy, wet, cloudy weather, these plants like sunshine. They like a bit of warmth. So we're doing all right at the moment with that. So I think it's absolutely fine for us to be sowing these now. This one is White Lady, and this one is Lady Di. You can see that the White Lady had white flowers, and this Lady Di has some beautifully spectacular red flowers. Now, we normally keep our own seeds. We save them. They're one of the easiest seeds to be able to save. But it was so wet and cold and damp last year, we struggled to actually leave them on the plant and dry, didn't we, Mrs.
Yes,
W?
yeah, they didn't We tried, but they just didn't do what they were supposed to do.
No. So hopefully this year will be kinder to us and we can get those saved once again and save a bit of money by saving our own seed. Lastly, in this cell tray, the Cobra Climbing French Bean. You probably notice here that for the beans I've sowed them in these very deep module trays. I personally like to do that. You don't have to, they'll grow perfectly well in the 40 cell trays that we normally use. But if you can give them the best start that you can, I tend to find that you grow really great plants. And beans, all beans, have very long tap roots that like to wind their way down, and the more healthy that root is, I tend to find that once we transplant them out, these transplant really good and they get away nice and quickly, providing the weather is right for them. And that needs to go in the queue for the water bath.
Okay.
The next thing we're going to sow is a follow-on sowing of spring salad onions. This is a variety called Ishikura. We've grown this before. It's a lovely onion. I prefer this type of onion really to, say for argument's sake, the white Lisbon, which tends to get a bulb on it. That's just a personal preference for myself and Mrs. W. And we put some spring onions into the ground a couple of weeks ago, so it is time actually for the next ones to be sown, so that we do get a good continuity of onions throughout the year. And by the way, thank you all very much for your amazing comments that you left us from our last two videos. The growing of asparagus, we were so pleased with that. We had some more yesterday evening,
yes,
didn't we, Mrs.
did.
W?
We're on a roll with it at the moment.
Oh yes, oh yes.
It is so lovely.
And of course, the spring onion. I picked up some really nice ideas actually from some of the comments that you left. And we're going to try and put those into practice a little bit later on in the year and see how we get on doing them like that. So do look out for that video. And of course, those onions were multi-sown. It's our favourite way of doing these onions. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the radish. You can see here that these radish we're going to be starting to eat. So it's time that I sowed some more because we want to keep that continuity going. And again, they shall be multi-sown. Perhaps 5 or 6 in each cell. Don't get too stressed about it. Really doesn't matter. They'll find their way. This is a variety called French Breakfast. And we really like this, don't we?
We do, yeah.
A little bit later on in the year, I find that switching to, was it Scarlet something?
Scarlet Globe.
That's it, Scarlet Globe.
Yeah, little round ones. They're
Yes.
nice, aren't they?
They're really quite nice and grow a little bit better during the summer months than this French Breakfast, because this can get quite hot once the weather gets hot. The next seeds that I want to sow will be more follow-on seeds. I made a video a few weeks back about how I actually sow our brassicas so that none go to waste, they don't go over, and we get to eat nice fresh brassicas every single month of the year. And so it's time for me to be sowing now our greens for the month of August now, Mrs. W.
Yeah, we're getting through them.
So I want some more Calabrese broccoli. Again, just 2 seeds per cell. And then we'll thin to the strongest seedling. And then this will be the last month that we sow the Savoy King. For the autumn and winter harvest, we shall switch to a different variety. And you'll see that first sowings will actually come toward right at the very end of April, Mrs. W, in fact.
Will they really? Gosh.
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose.
Time soon comes around.
Yeah, the autumn winter ones always take longer to mature, don't they?
Yeah, that is a feature of them. They do take longer. So therefore you need to sow them just that little bit earlier. And we shall give those some vermiculite. And there's enough room for that to fit in there beside those beans that we initially put in.
Lovely.
Do get a lot of questions about the water bath and how long you should leave them in there. It really depends on the size of pot that you're using. For cell trays, I mean, I can already see that the Bolotti beans and Ferrari beans, that vermiculite is already starting to change colour. So it's almost done. It's literally 20 to 30 minutes. And that's enough for those cells to suck up enough water in order that it's well moistened. From August onwards, I think it's really nice if we can actually have some Romanesco. They're a cousin of the cauliflower. They have a slightly different taste and it's a bit nutty. And they're a lovely lime green colour. And the one thing I really like about the Romanesco is that actually upon cooking they stay that green colour, don't they?
They do, yes, they're lovely.
Next I want to try a new cauliflower for us. This is a variety called White XL. And it should become ready late August and into September. So these will actually represent the cauliflowers that we shall be eating over the autumn months. But it does just tip into August, especially if they're sown now. We do like a cauliflower.
Oh, yeah. There's not much veg we don't like, really, is there?
No.
I'm not keen on those winter greens.
Yeah, whereas I absolutely
You love them.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not so keen.
But that's right, I can see down there's some beginning to heart up now, so you'll be able to eat the hearted version
Yes,
of
they're
it.
looking lovely, aren't they? And there's some in the garden as well outside, so...
Now in mid-April, the brassicas that we've sown and that you could possibly be sowing, they'll be fine in an undercover structure like a polytunnel or a greenhouse, be absolutely fine. I saw in here last night, what do we get down to? 2 degrees in here. And that's absolutely fine for brassicas. If you do want to speed up the germination because you're in a hurry, just take them down to your house. And then once they have germinated, bring them up to your undercover structure. As for the sweet corn and the other things that we sowed, the beans, I shall be taking them down to our house. Sorry, Mrs. W, got a bit more to go in the kitchen.
I need another kitchen table then, I think.
But they won't take very long to germinate at all. And again, once they have germinated, so long as you're in undercover structures are not going below freezing, they'll be fine to bring up to here afterwards. As always, my best advice is to ensure you have a weather app or watch the local weather and just see what's happening. We often watch the 10-day trend. It's not Mrs. W's most favourite programme, I grant you, because it goes on for about 30 minutes. But I tell you what, I have a pretty good idea of what's going to be happening over the next 10 days or so. And that's invaluable for a gardener. So there you have it. 12 amazing seeds for you to sow in April week 3 to set your garden up for success. Whether you're growing in no-dig or traditional beds, sowing these seeds now will mean that they will thrive and you shall get your harvests sometime in July for the beans. I always love it when the beans come, and this arch always looks so amazing, Mrs. W.
It does, I agree.
Which ones are you sowing this week? Do drop us a comment in the comments below and let us know exactly what you're going to be sowing and the varieties you're going to be sowing. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and tap the bell so that you'll be notified whenever we upload a video. And you never miss a sowing date or a seasonal tip. And if you want to see what you could have been sowing during the month of April, it's still not too late. If you want to know, then watch this video next. Have a great rest of your gardening week, and we shall see you on the next one.